I'm Zach Clayton of Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. We have two choices. We can either sit around and hope this goes away on its own, or we together can do something about it. Join me and my wonderful sponsor partners, Scott O'Sullivan Law Firm and Ryder Justice, Z World Webs, Auxilia Donor Management Systems, and Autumn Dahlia Creative Services, as we introduce programs from around the country aimed at helping our veterans and discuss the importance of conversation and listening. Together, you and I can move mountains. Let's save lives.
Welcome to Ability MKE Now on River West Radio. My name is Sue Roskoff, and we are thrilled to be with you again this evening with Ability MKE Now. We are a show all about integration. We are bringing people with disabilities and people that don't have a disability together, enjoying life here in the Milwaukee area. We all have different abilities. Here at Ability MKE Now, we dive into this topic of diverse abilities, showcasing and sharing a variety of aspects of ability-related topics. Now, the concept of disability hits a wide range of possibilities. We could be talking about physical or mental disabilities, the deaf and hard of hearing community, blindness, chronic pain, mental health diagnosis, goals of substance use reduction, and the list goes on. There are so many aspects when we talk about disability and the disability community and advocating and learning and understanding and accepting. And there are so many pieces to that puzzle that that's why we're here. We're making sure that everybody can understand more, walk away with something that that they didn't know before, and hopefully think about things in a little different way. So as always, we are joined this evening with Kurt, my awesome hubby, and Emily Golmer is here, and we have a guest with us this evening as well. Patty Ernest is here. So I am actually going to bring Patty in right away. So I know she had some good news come her way today. So just wanted to give her a chance to reintroduce herself and talk to us, give us a little background on what she's all talking about and what her good news was today. So Patty, over to you.
Well, thank you, Sue. So here's the thing. When you tell a joke, you have to watch your audience. My name is Patty Ernest, and I am owner manager of a pet sitting agency here in the Phoenix area. And I have a podcast with the phenomenal help of Emily and Kurt, known as The World of Pets. I told a joke back like in May, June, July, June, I think it was, time frame. And the joke backfired. And for somebody who has a lot of respect for first offenders, I mean first responders, that I should have known better. But I think I was trying to get them to relax because I couldn't imagine why they were in my area to begin with, why they were actually in my home to begin with, or the home that I'm at. So the joke backfired, and I ended up in some serious trouble. Today I heard from the attorney. This has been going on for 6 months now, and I finally got some good news from the attorney, as Sue mentioned, saying one, that the court-ordered treatment that had been recommended for me, have been prescribed for me, has now been lifted. And if you've been following the story, as Kurt has been telling the story wonderfully, that all was a mess. It was a major cluster. And so between that, and then I was also diagnosed as being severely mentally ill. And that was connected with the court-ordered treatment. So once one had been lifted, I'm now being told by the attorney both of them have been lifted. So it's phenomenal. Now I can start to put my life back together, start to get things together. It's something to put a label on somebody as being mentally ill or mentally this or mentally that, when the capacity is, maybe they're not so much, right? But you tell a bad joke and somebody doesn't understand it, somebody doesn't get it, and the next thing you know, you're in serious hot water. And that's exactly what happened. So just wanted to share that with everybody. And I'm open to questions. So if anybody wants to call in with a question, I'm listening.
Well, that is great news, and I'm so glad they finally have gotten to that point where they can step back and realize what the actual situation all is here. And the nightmare that you've been enduring in these last few months is finally getting to a point where you see a light at the end of the tunnel now. You can start moving forward again with a lot more confidence and knowing what's going to be coming. So I'm so happy to hear that. That is great news.
Thank you very much. Now to handle the rest of it. The rest of it's a nightmare too. That I don't want to discuss. I'm going to leave that part of it private.
And that's okay. So, and if you wouldn't mind me asking a few things along the way here, because I know the whole idea of mental illness is, for a lot of people who have no way to relate to that, is kind of a scary topic, because how do you know? People don't know what they don't know, and that's part of why we're here. And what kind of issues did you end up running into? Were there roadblocks? Were there walls that you end up literally running into with people because of what you've experienced along the way with this?
Oh, well, I don't know anybody who's been put into 6 different mental health units within 2.5 months, because they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what they were looking at. They were scared. It was a major chaos. Yeah, you're absolutely right. People don't know what they don't know, and they don't know what they're looking at. And, and there's so much to learn about mental health. I'm glad that you all have this platform. I'm glad that you have a program that addresses all kinds of issues, right? Mm-hmm. Not just physical limitations, even challenges. I won't even use the word limitations, challenges. But also deals with the mental and the emotional, and this is a good starting point of, waking up and saying, what's out there, and where do you put that norm? What is normal, right?
That's a great question.
I have to psychologist out. What makes him more qualified? What makes him, because he's had a few more years of school, what makes him that much more, normal than, somebody else walking around, or even in my situation? And he couldn't answer the question. He didn't know. So he didn't even know what I was. Still, he didn't even know why I was there. Okay. He did not know. He thought maybe it was a urinary tract infection that went bad. And all of a sudden I'm finding myself in this mess, right? Mm-hmm. He had no idea why I was there. He said he didn't understand why they had prescribed any medication. He took me off I took myself off the medication, but he backed me on it. And if this had continued to go on, and that it had lasted longer, he was planning on having me come in once every 3 months. He said he has never taken somebody off court-ordered treatment before. It was a new experience for him.
Wow. So look at this. You're a record setter for him too.
I've been known for being a trendsetter in some ways, and this is just one of
Excellent. Well, it's a good one to have under your belt there. That's perfect.
them. Thank you.
So yeah, and I am. What was that?
A sigh of relief.
A sigh of relief, indeed. Yeah. So now I can almost visibly see a weight lifted off of your shoulders, and hear in your voice that you are in a better place, and that means the world, doesn't it?
Oh man, Kurt couldn't even contain me this morning when I was giving him the news. I'm like, Kurt, can you believe this? Oh, and I will say, Kurt and Emily both stood by me every step of the way. They put in so much hard work to try to contact agencies, to try to make them aware of what's going on here and how can we help her, you know, and contacting doctors and contacting attorneys. They were both right there. Emily, with all of the computer work that she was doing, all of the information, she had a spreadsheet, and Kurt on the phone with me, you know, talking with them and saying, we got to wake up, folks, we got to wake up to all this. So yeah, but between the both of them, I'm sure they're glad that this is over with too, because they don't want to have to do any more of that work. They're busy enough as it is. They don't need an additional work added to their plate. That's for sure with this. So
Well,
yeah,
and that really
Island.
that goes to show the importance of having an advocate or advocates, you know, to be able to have somebody in your corner who can help, not only to listen to the information coming in, because you know how it is when you go, for example, when you go to see a doctor, they sometimes will talk about so many different things, and when you walk away, you're like, wait, okay, I remember this and this, but I know there was something else. You know, to have somebody with to hear and to be able to help with coordinating what all happened, to write down notes, any whatever role would be most helpful. That's huge, and it goes beyond that too, to be able to go back, in this case, going back to agencies, going back to whoever it is that you need to reach out to find out the answers. To have somebody on your side makes a world of difference.
Yeah,
And
so what makes this even more interesting is Kurt is that person. He's a strong advocate for a lot of people. And he was, as I'm saying, he was right there by my side. You know, the psychiatrist wouldn't let him in the building. Well, wouldn't let him in the building. He just wouldn't let him in the discussion, because he was saying, you know, Kurt does have a background in media. You know, he does know his stuff when it comes to media. And the psychiatrist was concerned that he might take the information and use it against, you know, the facility, or, you know, and here, all Kurt was trying to do was serve as an advocate, you know, to support the whole situation and back up. And I remember the day the whole staff was there to meet me, like, you know, we're not letting him involved with this, because they were going to try to do it so that I could just do this from home, you know, talk to the psychiatrist at home. But when they knew that Kurt and Emily were there, they didn't want any part of it. They wouldn't let me do it at home. I had to actually go in and see the psychiatrist every month. Yeah, that sucked.
yeah, I know everybody's got to watch out for themselves in the process, and they're I'm sure doing what they feel is the right thing, and that doesn't mean that everybody's going to agree, unfortunately, but yeah, at least having somebody on your side, and even though they might not be able to be there in person with you, to be able to still be that helper along the way. Because you're right, I know Kurt has been an advocate for a lot of people, and I know that's something, you know, giving voice to somebody who doesn't have the voice or know how to have that voice is a big thing. And the more you learn, the more you understand, the easier it is to speak to those topics as well. So I'm so glad that that's all worked out, and that you are in a better place today than what you were when you first came on here with us.
Yes, thank you very much. Very excited. When I first came on with you, I didn't even want to talk. I asked Kurt to be my voice, because I, you know, it wasn't, part of it was I wasn't quite sure what to say, but Kurt Kurt knew exactly. Kurt has been the voice all along. Anytime I've said, reached out to him, Kurt, can you? I would like to be part of this radio program. Would you help me with it? With podcasts, would you help me with it? I say I'm from the old school. We used to refer to these as radio programs. So now they're podcasts. But Kurt was right there the whole time. He served as my voice through all of it, and gratefully so. And Emily did her best too. It got hairy at times, but Emily did her best too, and somehow we got it done. But there is so much more to learn about mental health. The facilities and the agencies do not have a handle on most of it. The psychiatrists don't have a handle on most of it. This is all a new territory, new learning process. And I think my being involved with this has opened many doors for these folks and learning to communicate better and trying to figure out, hopefully, if they're doing their job, what can be done in the future to make it easier. I would love to believe that I'm the only trendsetter in this, that people are going to follow and go through the same experience again. But just in case, it's good to have it documented so that they can, learn from it and what happens the next time around if it happens again.
Yeah, because anything that can be done to help that next person, you never know who might end up walking that same path in the future. And if what your experience has been can help somebody else, then that gives more meaning to really what you had to struggle through. So I'm hopeful nobody else has to do that, but you can't be that much of a unicorn here that you've been the only one. I'm sure others have had similar struggles, and I'm glad yours has turned out where you'd hoped. And maybe you'll be able to be an advocate and a helper for somebody else along the way at some point in the future.
I just hope they don't need to repeat the experience. That's all.
Yeah, I would agree. So that's one thing with us here at Ability MKE Now. What we're trying to do is to be able to shed light on these types of things. And actually, I was going to mention one other thing here that came. So let me back up a little bit. A short story. I know we've talked before about the 12 o'clock shakedown. We have a group that gets together every day at 12 o'clock noon Central here on a Zoom group, and also we do a Facebook Live at the same time, so that even if you can't be there right at 12, you can still get back to it. And it is 15 minutes of music and motion. So we literally grab shakers, or you can shake your fists, you can grab, a lot of people have some kind of, whether it's a maraca or a little container with rice in it, or whatever you want to grab. And it makes it fun to, if it's something like rice, or if it makes a little bit of noise, then it just makes it much more fun because you're doing something to the music. And it's simple motions. It is mostly arm motions and a little bit of legs at one point, usually in the 15 minutes, but it's just something simple to get people moving. It started out actually with some friends that have the one in particular, the guy who started this whole thing has MS, multiple sclerosis, and he is an individual that once COVID hit, he knew that he needed to stay active somehow. Because it makes a difference if he maintains his activity level on how his body reacts, basically. So I hope I'm relaying that well for what his situation is, but. Within the group, we have several people that have MS. We have individuals with spinal cord injuries. We have, you name it. Everybody's welcome. There are no barriers there. It's everybody does the best they can, and we make a good, fun time of listening to music. And now in the last few months now, I've actually been the one with the privilege of leading the group and totally stealing all the arm movements that that the past leader was using. And part of why I wanted to mention this is one of our friends on that, his name is Mark, and he is spectacular. He is one that at the end of every time he's there, he always ends up getting to share some information with us. He takes time every day to look up whose birthday is it, what's the special thing of the day, whatever random hallmarky kind of whatever the national holiday or the I mean, you name it, it's been something that's come up. It's been surprising what kind of things he comes up with. But one that is worth mentioning is today's. It is Human Trafficking Awareness Day. That is huge. And I don't know if people really understand how big of an issue that is, and that it's a real thing. You would think here in the United States, especially here in the Milwaukee area, that type of thing wouldn't still exist. But as I understand it, Milwaukee is actually strangely a hotbed for this particular issue. It's huge, and it's just kind of it seems like it runs somewhat under the radar, where people either are just turning the blind eye to it or just really don't understand that this is a problem. Those that do know, I am aware of groups all over the place that are advocating for awareness and trying to do what they can to help individuals to keep their eyes open. I know that there was information brought to all the area hotels. Gosh, that predates COVID. I know I even helped drop off some materials at a couple locations that the hotels are able to make available, just to help make the awareness there. And I know part of those materials included a phone number that if you suspected that you were noticing somebody who might be in trouble, whether you give them the number or call for them. And just, it's like, if you notice anything that gives you the inkling of something's not right here, this young person should not be in this situation. If you ever get that inkling at all, reach out some way, somehow. If it doesn't work to reach them directly, if that situation isn't there, go get help. It's too big of a deal to turn a blind eye to. And the fact that this is the Human Trafficking Awareness Day, that is a perfect reason for us to take a moment and acknowledge that. That is, let's see, I actually looked up a little bit of information online about this, and it's basically January 11th is recognized as National Day of Human Trafficking Awareness, where communities around the country wear blue to help raise awareness and encourage others to help prevent trafficking by reporting tips to law enforcement. So, and that's from on the justice.gov website. So it's a big deal. It is something that is well known that the issue exists, and I hope that I never end up actually. It's one of those things. I never want to see it. I hope that my experience is that I don't have to deal with it, because what an awful thing. I don't want to have to deal with that. But God bless those that are out there that are having to deal with it on whatever level it is. It's an awful thing. It is ridiculous. It is awful. There's a lot of information out there and available if anybody's interested in learning more about it. There are organizations, I know even at my church, there's a group that supports expanding the awareness and doing what they can. There are groups like that all over Milwaukee. So whether it's at a church that you may attend, or if you want more information, it is readily available. You just have to look for it. So I just want to make sure people know of that importance. And I know when Kurt and I were talking about this earlier, he made the comment too, that that's especially important to folks with disabilities, because they are a vulnerable population, and that this can impact them more than others on some levels here. So it is worth bringing up. As awful of a topic as it is worth reminding people that it's still a thing. And I hope someday it's not, but I don't know. This goes back since forever, since people have been keeping records of time here. It's been an issue, and you would think in today's day and age that it wouldn't be, but it still is. So just want to make sure people take note of that today in honor of this being Human Trafficking Awareness Day. So yes.
Excuse me, with a lot of other issues as well. I don't know if the incidents have increased or whether we're just becoming more aware of it, that has made it, seem like there's more happening now. I'm not quite sure which is which. It's true of a lot of social problems. Which is it? Is it, in general? Is it, that there's more incidents of it, or is it that there's more awareness of it? So yeah, just want to throw that.
Yeah, it's a good thought. And I don't know the answer to that. I'm not sure. And I am glad that the awareness is increasing, and it can only hope that that as more and more people understand the issues, that they will be able to address them further. So Kurt, I want to bring you in and see what your thoughts are on this, because I know you've been part of a local committee here that's worked with this too, and just want to throw the mic your way here to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is the numbers are going up in the awareness. The thing that the advocates, are pressed to share is that slavery actually is at an all-time high for humankind. So students learn about, the history of slavery in our country, and that, there was emancipation and all this stuff. So scholastically, one would think that, we're kind of in this advanced day and age, and slavery is a history lesson. But no, through what we're talking about, how this is rampant around the world and all of that, human trafficking brings us the issue. Slavery is the worst it's ever been. So the world situation, it's not just because of awareness, it is the combination. Mm-hmm. So there is the half that the magnitude is grabbing you because of the awareness, but then when you look at the numbers are increasing. It's almost like when we share, unfortunately, about veteran suicide, the awareness with the 22 numbers started over 15 years ago, and now we're over 44 a day that we're losing in veterans. So there too, the awareness is good, and the gravity of it is there because of the awareness, but it is awareness that the numbers are escalating. So we have real social issues happening around the country and around the world, and it's time to make it an all hands on deck effort. And it's no longer a day where it's just, I hope I don't have to deal with it. I mean, yes, you at least want to be representation of where it's not, but it's also when you're fortunate to not have it in your close proximity, you are the one that needs to take an effort to fight this more than the people who are close to it. There's a lot that people are forced to go through when they're close to a victim. So we that aren't close to a victim, we're the ones that have the charge to figure this out while we have the convenience of not being up against those issues to react to logistically, because you need to respond to, real psychological impact, real impact to families, real impact to all the involvements that person used to have in the community, all those ripple effects. So this is an all hands on deck, and we share this because it's something for everybody to respond to, like yesterday.
Right. And it goes back to what we were saying earlier about advocacy and having advocates. And in a sense, this is a similar concept of the more people that are understanding the issues, the more people that can talk to them and talk to those issues and be able to do something, whatever that may be, that is ultimately huge importance. Because I'll stand here myself and say, I know when I first started hearing about this, about there being issues with human trafficking, I didn't honestly get it. Like, what do you mean? What? No, not around here. That I was in denial on the thought that could be a real thing. And then, Kurt, I know you would go to some meetings at our church, and I would hear bits and pieces. And then at one point, I was asked to help drop off those materials I was talking about at some hotels. And at the time, I'm like, oh, what is this? I don't understand why I'm doing this. And then when I really wrapped my head around it and why that was so important, it's like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? This is what this is. And this is that big of a problem. it still makes my head spin that it can be that, and that it is. I know occasionally there are speakers around that are individuals who got caught up into trafficking, and to hear their story, their testimony is unbelievable. But you got to believe it. It has been their experiences, and that's where today being the excuse to have the awareness and the reminder of what that is so important. So I'm glad to have that chance to do that. I appreciate this conversation we've had here tonight. Kurt, Patty, thank you so much for all you bring here with us on this show. And for Ability MKE Now, my name is Sue Roskoff, and as always, we thank you.
I want to thank Kurt and Sue and Patty for what they brought up. And I just once again wanted to share this with you. If you suspect a problem, please call 888-373-7888. Do not approach these individuals on your own. Okay? These are not people who don't know what they're doing. Okay? They are professional. Please let the professionals deal with them. The numbers are, as Kurt said, the numbers are increasing, and we need to make sure that we try to put a cap on these numbers and start pushing them down. But if you suspect a problem, please call the national hotline, 373-7888. 888-373-7888. I want to once again thank Ability MKE Now on another great show. We will see you soon. Hello, I'm Zach Clayton, of Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. We have two choices. We can either sit around and hope this goes away on its own, or we together can do something about it. Join me and my wonderful sponsor partners, Scott O'Sullivan Law Firm and Ryder Justice, Z World Webs, Auxilia Donor Management Systems, and Autumn Dahlia Creative Services, as we introduce programs from around the country aimed at helping our veterans and discuss the importance of conversation and listening. Together, you and I can move mountains.